Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon. All right, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. So, I'm going to talk about why I'm going live tonight later. But first, tonight we're breaking down the long list of Trump hoaxes that have been proven false. Russia, the Russia thing, the P tape, that mainstream media were salivating over for a long while. The very fine people hoax that people still believe till this day. The bleach injection situation during the pandemic, they claimed that President Trump said people should inject bleach into their bloodstreams. The J6 hoax, where they claim that he inspired the insurrection. So we're going to talk about that tonight. But now, Democrats have invented something new, and we talked about it earlier today, but we're going to look at it again tonight in relief of all of these past hoaxes, and they're pushing it hard. This brand new hoax that they are really excited about, and we're going to talk about it together. So I would like you to bring in your comments. Remember to post your comments in the chat. Have your arguments, your receipts. If you have anything that can prove that the hoaxes were actually real, let's have it. All right, not just it's real, Orange Man bad. No, let's talk about evidence. Let's talk about the facts. And we're doing this in real time. I'm going to do my best to cover this and show you all of the stuff that we have lined up. All right, now don't forget to smash the like button and send a super chat if you can. Consider subscribing to the channel if you like the way the content is being presented. We aim to present content of this nature in a very non-toxic manner. All right, we like to have conversations. Remember the time when we used to have conversations about politics, disagree, and still be friends? That's what we aim to accomplish today. So let's know where you're watching from. All right, so let's know where you're watching from in the chat, where you're watching from, and let's know your thoughts. Don't be shy. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is the Russia hoax. We all heard about it, and we all believed that the mainstream media had our best interest at heart. But it turns out that they were not very honest. So the skiff has this because all of these hoaxes have been debunked. The Russia hoax was long debunked, but do you know what? We still have people saying that Russia interfered with the 2016 elections. Brennan's handwritten note confirms Hillary Clinton created the dossier to frame Trump with the Russia collusion hoax. Now, I'm still waiting for her to be held accountable for that hoax because it essentially derailed a presidency for 4 years, because at every turn, that subject kept coming up. Until he left, she kept calling him an illegitimate president. The declassified documents prove Hillary created the Russian dossier while Obama was calling the shots to execute it. So let's watch this report, because what can we say but listen to what eventually was uncovered.
We knew Hillary created the dossier, and now we have proof that Barack was calling the shots and the documents to prove it.
Declassified documents revealing former CIA Director John Brennan briefed then-President Obama on Hillary Clinton's purported plan to smear then-candidate Trump in 2016, adding to what the National Intelligence Director has already declassified on this issue, and raising more questions tonight about how much more of this will come out before Election Day. Senior political correspondent Mike Emanuel is following the story tonight in Washington. Good evening, Mike.
Brett, good evening. These are handwritten notes from former CIA Director John Brennan, written according to a source familiar after Brennan briefed President Obama. At one point, Brennan writes, quote, approved by Hillary Clinton, a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security service.
Why are these people still walking around free? They essentially committed treason. It's been proven to be a hoax. Okay. Now this was a story from 5 years ago. In 2020, this hoax was debunked, but it didn't stop people who hate President Trump from continuing to spread this piece of misinformation. Okay. So here you have it. A note stating that the hoax was approved by Hillary Clinton, a proposal from one of her foreign aides, for her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal, claiming interference by the Russian security service. What else are they not telling us? What else are they not saying about the current hoax that they are pushing?
The notes say on 28th of July, in the margin, Brennan writes POTUS, but that section of the notes are redacted. Then it says any evidence of collaboration between Trump campaign and Russia. The remainder of the notes are redacted, except in the margins where it says JC, Dennis, and Susan. That could be referring to former FBI Director James Comey, former Obama Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough, and former National Security Advisor Susan Rice.
And Susan Rice was recently fired from the DOJ, sorry, the Department of Defense, now the Department of War, and she was frothing at the mouth after she was let go or fired. Okay, and of course she was spewing all of her hatred about Pete Hegseth being a cis white male, Christian nationalist male. We saw that video months ago. These are the people who colluded to spread horrible misinformation about President Trump on the Russia collusion. Now, James Comey is being indicted. Now, we don't know where that will go, but clearly the Russian collusion hoax was already debunked 5 years ago. Hoax number 2, the P-tape, the infamous P-tape. Okay. Now, the P-tape was peddled by Clinton opposition research. Okay, it was laundered through a British spy spending every night putting together timelines, charts, and maps. And then the DOJ debunked the whole thing. So let's listen to this, because this is MSNBC. Because once they get these so-called leaks, which is essentially a smear campaign, this is a smear campaign against President Trump. They can't wait to put this out onto the air. And you know what? They know that the people who watch them won't do their own research. They'll listen to them and believe that this is the gospel truth. They surely can't be lying to us.
One of the most striking revelations from the Comey memos is President Trump's apparent fixation on the most salacious part of the Steele dossier, you know what I'm talking about, explaining why what he called the golden showers thing couldn't have happened. Comey writes in his January 2017 memo, Trump said he had spoken to people who had been on the Miss Universe trip with him, and they had reminded him that he didn't stay overnight in Russia for that. He said he arrived in the morning, did events, then showered and dressed for the pageant at the hotel. He didn't say the hotel name, and left for the pageant. Afterwards, he returned only to get his things because they departed for New York by plane that same night. Now, Trump apparently brought it up for the second time just a month later, according to Comey, explaining as he did at our dinner, he hadn't stayed overnight in Russia during the Miss Universe trip. So the, quote, golden showers thing couldn't possibly be true because Trump says he didn't even stay overnight in Moscow. Except that's not what the flight records say. And that's thing two in 60 seconds. So the president allegedly told James Comey multiple times that the, quote, golden showers thing could not possibly be true, saying the proof was that he didn't even stay overnight in Moscow. According, however, to flight records obtained by Bloomberg, Trump departed from Asheville, North Carolina, arriving in Moscow early Friday morning at 6 a.m. on November 8th. And then Trump stayed in Russia until Sunday, November 10th for nearly 46 hours, flying out of Moscow in the wee hours Sunday morning back to New York City area. So we know Trump spent Friday night there in Moscow, and we also know most of his schedule. Trump went to eat Friday night with Russian business tycoons at Nobu. You see that picture there. Then he attended a birthday party for the pageant's host, developer Aras Agalarov. What happened after the birthday party is a mystery. The only thing we know about the night that Trump slept in Moscow comes from his bodyguard Keith Schiller when he reportedly told Congress he turned down an offer from a Russian to send women to Trump's room. Schiller testified he stood outside Trump's hotel room for a time and then went to bed. The next time Trump is seen publicly is the next day. Before the Miss Universe pageant on Saturday, Trump sat down for an interview with NBC looking a little bleary-eyed.
Do you have a relationship with Vladimir Putin, a conversational relationship, or?
So someone who works hard as President Trump does, and has to go from meeting to meeting, wakes up really early and then shows up for a meeting, blurry-eyed, is suddenly a scandal according to MSNBC. But let's finish this video and then we'll just read the caption at the base of the video. The P-tape has been debunked by the Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz. Further, his report released Monday makes clear the FBI knew early in 2017 that it was a highly dubious story and kept Donald Trump in the dark. President Trump's first term was laced with a lot of traitors, and they essentially wanted him to fail by every means necessary.
Anything that you feel you have sway or influence over his government?
I do have a relationship, and I can tell you that he's very interested in what we're doing here today.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC.
So basically, all of this report was just to say, during the Miss Universe pageant, President Trump engaged in the allegations stated about the whole P-tape situation. It was just crazy. All right, so hoax number 2 debunked. Hoax number 3, Charlottesville. You know, people have been selling this hoax hard. All right, so let's listen to Kamala Harris. This is just as recent as the 2024 presidential election, presidential debate. Here's Kamala Harris claiming that President Trump said that neo-Nazis were very fine people.
But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page.
All right, so a presidential candidate who was the sitting vice president was still spreading the very fine people hoax. let's watch the tape of what President Trump actually said. Because like I could continue to cover all of the okay, so here's this is MSNBC. Okay, let's see. All right, MSNBC still spreading the very fine people hoax.
And these veiled attacks that aren't really that veiled, they already this is the problem with J.D. Vance as a vice presidential pick, and I think they already know it now. The problem is they had all those voters after Charlottesville. All the dog whistles, they had that after Charlottesville when Donald Trump said they're good people on both sides. They had those voters.
So even mainstream media continued to spread the lies. Let's listen to the actual tape of what President Trump said about the neo-Nazis.
From both sides, sir, you said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame, yes. I think there's blame on both sides. And you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
He said that, but yet they continue to push the very fine people hoax. VP Kamala Harris at the time, during the presidential debate, a highly televised event to millions of Americans, pushed this hoax. But it was debunked. When she was having the debate, it had already been debunked. So why was she still spreading a hoax that had already been debunked? Because it's convenient. It's convenient to lie about someone that they have engineered, they basically conditioned everyone to hate. So let me ask you, which of these hoaxes did you hear that you were more inclined to believe? Did you believe all of them? Did you believe any of them? Let me know in the chat. And then the famous bleach injection hoax. Look, we're going through hoax after hoax after hoax. And what you'll find is, in the end, you realize that every single hoax that has been promoted by mainstream media, by the Democrats, have all been debunked. Here's President Trump's statement. Now, Joe Biden, as at 2024, was still pushing the hoax that President Trump suggested that Americans inject bleach into their veins. The facts: Trump never spoke about injecting or drinking bleach. He spoke of UV light as a disinfectant because that's what was being tested. UV light being injected into surfaces or potentially into or onto or into the body. He was describing an experiment or test that were going on because everyone was losing their minds about the virus. Okay, so let's listen to his statement and tell me if you hear him saying anything about injecting bleach.
You are thinking of, if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting.
Right, folks who could.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
So he's talking to his science team while he's having a press conference. And they're responding to him and telling him what is possible, what isn't possible. And what the press does, they run out there and say, ha, 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 ha. Oh, the guy is such an idiot. He's saying that they should inject disinfectant and bleach into... No, he's asking a question. He's talking, he's asking questions and wondering what works and what doesn't work. Everyone was trying to figure out the entire situation with the coronavirus at the time. You know, let's take a minute. Let's breathe for a minute. The next hoax that we're going to is a doozy. And of course, right now, the BBC is staring down the barrel of a $1 billion lawsuit. If they don't satisfactorily roll back everything that they did and said about President Trump egging on the protesters on January 6th, 2021. Everyone looks at President Trump, and because President Trump doesn't freak out or rage, like if it was you that had been lied to or lied about, not lied to, but lied about and vilified by all of these news stations, public figures, you were the butt of every joke on Saturday Night Live, everything was going against you, how would you react? Okay, let me know in the chat. How would you react? Because clearly it would bother me. I'm just being honest. It would bother me to no end because I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it, but he has very thick skin, and I guess it comes from being in the public eye for over 40 years and having to deal with all of this insanity. All right. Now, if you enjoy our coverage and how we're breaking down these hoaxes and discussing without, because I don't think I've called anyone names. I haven't vilified anyone. I haven't called for anyone to be harmed in any way. I'm trying to just talk about the things that we all know have happened that have been debunked. But there are people out there who are still pushing these hoaxes like they are the gospel. Okay? I'm piecing all of these together during this live stream because it's very clear that what we're seeing today with the release of documents by Democrats is yet another elaborate hoax. And we're going to go through some videos to basically break this down. And then you let me know what you think in the comment section or in the chat. All right. Now, Lee Harris posted this. The Telegraph has revealed that the BBC edited Trump's speech a second time on Newsnight. So we're going to watch that next, but let's watch the original. Okay, so here's one done by Swedish media, because most of us have seen the one that British media had originally edited and released. I could play that, but this is, I just need to go straight to the point. This is Swedish media. We know that British media was complicit in editing the footage to make it seem like President Trump was inciting an insurrection. And based on these clips, Congress attempted to impeach him, but he was acquitted eventually because it was not true. The full speech was available for everyone to see. Did they have a marathon broadcast telling everyone, oh no, he's been cleared of all charges? No, they didn't. They were very happy to keep everyone believing that President Trump incited an insurrection. And they kept saying that he incited an insurrection. So here's the Swedish media. It wasn't just the BBC. Okay, there were other media houses all over the world that did the exact same thing.
Valfuskanklagelserna pågick I månader tills allt kulminerade.
Accusations of fraud went on for months.
We're going to walk down and I'll be there with you.
Now here's
We're going to
where
walk down to the Capitol. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
See what they did? And these guys actually, like, they pieced together segments of the speech to make it seem like President Trump was egging them on, and then they put the image of a gallows in the frame. This is crazy. And of course, they cut to all of the violence. This was Swedish media, right, selling the hoax. Here's BBC, all right? The BBC had a first edit, which we've all seen, or most of us have seen, and then here's a second edit that they made. All right, now the Telegraph has revealed that the BBC edited Trump's speech a second time on Newsnight. They even ignored concerns that were raised about it. They deliberately misled the public. It just gets worse for the BBC. All right, like, I'm curious to see where this lawsuit goes, but it just gets worse. And they call this a mistake. 2 edits. The first one, they said, well, it was a mistake. Here's a second edit. This was all deliberate.
We're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to cheer on our...
So the Newsnight edit cuts from
men and women, and we fight.
And cut to we fight like hell.
And we're going to cheer on
Here's the original
our brave
clip.
senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them.
Very, very, very evil. You know, if you can say evil is very, 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 this qualifies as it, because this is called bearing false witness. So for 4 years, these people manufactured a hoax claiming that President Trump essentially inspired an insurrection. And how many hoaxes have we gone through right now that have all been debunked? The Russia hoax, the P-tape hoax, the Charlottesville hoax, the Bleach hoax, and the January 6th Fight Like Hell hoax. 5. I had a conversation with an old acquaintance, and he was telling me, he was confronting me because he found out that I was favorable to President Trump's policies. And then he says, well, how could you support someone who is so racist? I said, tell me how he's racist. He brought up the Charlottesville hoax. And then while he was talking, it was a WhatsApp call. While he was talking, I simply went on WhatsApp, on X. I took the link of the full video that covered who he was talking about and the full context of the video. And I sent it to him and I said, that's the full video of the Charlottesville speech. Okay. And I could tell that he was getting upset because his point was false. President Trump never called neo-Nazis very fine people. And then he pivots and says, well, how about when he incited the insurrection? I said, well, the full speech shows that he didn't incite an insurrection. And then he got upset. And then he says, how come it took him so long to call up the National Guard? I said, President Trump already had offered Nancy Pelosi the National Guard, and she turned them down. Oh, how could you? But, and then when he couldn't get a headway, he said, well, how come immediately they saw that there was a problem, that they didn't release the National Guard. I said there is a process to releasing the National Guard. The National Guard isn't like the army where they have a base. He said, oh, they have a base. Oh, I can't believe you said this. I said, the National Guard is made up of different people who volunteer to be on the National Guard. It takes time to assemble the National Guard. It's not like that. You know, there are people who sadly are so bent on seeing President Trump in a bad light. I enjoy truth tellers. I want people to tell the truth. That's all I want. I don't want people to spread lies. I want people to be comfortable with telling the truth. Now, and you have to learn how to tell the truth, even if it's about someone you don't like. All right? It's the godly thing to do. You know, this is one reason why I began to turn away from sports. This is one reason, because there's a spirit in certain sports where it's almost like win by every means necessary. Win by all means necessary. If you're going to cheat, if you're going to lie, if you're going to injure your opponent, win by all means necessary. And I don't believe in that method of existence. I don't. So it doesn't make sense for me to watch people act the way I've seen a lot of people act around politics over the last few years. All right. Collective consciousness. All right. Collective consciousness says KH passed in 2018, currently a clone. Do you mean Kamala Harris? I don't understand. That's weird. Okay. That's weird. All right. There has to be evidence. Okay. Now, are we engaging in conspiracy theories? Because I've never heard that before. I've never heard that before. Okay. And please, when you're posting stuff like that, it'll be great for you to follow up with some evidence. All right. With some evidence. Okay. So feel free to send in your comments and your posts. If you like the way we're going through these topics without being insulting, aggressive, and without, I don't want to trigger anyone to feel like they're being attacked or anything. We just want to look at the facts and tell the truth. Okay, it's a sad thing to find out a few years later that you've been deceived or you've been used or duped into hating or attacking someone who didn't deserve it. Okay. Okay. All right. So if you have evidence, I can see your chat and I'm not going to read it out. Okay. You say she passed in 2018. Fine. If you have evidence or documentation or a breadcrumb, a trail of evidence that proves it, all right, you can send it over. Send it to crossroadsirl@gmail.com. I'll take a look at it. If it pans out, then I'll basically talk about it. Okay? Deal? All right? So just do that. All right? So feel free to send in your comments in the chat. Consider subscribing if you like what you hear, and consider liking and sharing this live stream. And if you can, send us a donation by using the pinned comment. The donation link is up there, or joining our membership by using the link in the video description, the live stream description. All right. So we've seen all of these hoaxes, 5 of 5 debunked. The 6th one that we are facing right now is currently in play. And Democrats everywhere are salivating. All right. As of this evening, we have this update on Grok. So Grok says, House Democrats release Epstein files detailing Trump's past connections. This is another hoax. It is, because please use your faculties, use your reasoning faculties. These House Democrats and certain Republicans who hate Trump and didn't want him to be in the White House a second time had access to all of these documents. They ran the Democrats ran the House and the Senate. They had the presidency. They had the FBI. They had the CIA. And they had conservative voices talking about the Epstein files for months leading up to the presidential elections last year. They talked about the Epstein list, the Epstein files, and every single time they talked about it, the only thing Democrats said, or people who ran cover for them in the media said, was it's a conspiracy theory. That's what they kept saying. Why do they now magically have this interest in releasing the files that they claimed were conspiracy theories? They could have released the files and implicated President Trump when he was going through all of the lawfare that they launched against him. They levied those against him. And they could have used the Epstein files to destroy him if he was actually in the Epstein files. They could have released them. If you really sit back and think about it, they had 4 years to release the Epstein files. How come they didn't? How come right now it is the most important thing to the American people? Where are the Epstein files? Where are the Epstein files? All right. So House Oversight Committee Democrats released over 20,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein's documents on November 12th, including emails suggesting Donald Trump was aware of underage victims and intervened to stop Epstein's. Hang on. He was aware of his activity of underage victims and intervened to stop Epstein's activities at Mar-a-Lago. Okay. Republicans highlighted accuser Virginia Giuffre's testimony exonerating Trump of involvement, while the files also exposed Epstein's ties to figures like Ehud Barak and Woody Johnson. The partisan clash has intensified calls for unredacted transparency and made public polls showing low approval for Trump's handling of the matter. Trump didn't run on the Epstein files. Well, let's move on. I'm not here to talk about that. Okay? Let's listen to Benny Johnson. Okay, I'm going to play Tim Pool first, then Benny Johnson. All right, so we're going to just look at a few things that they mention about the Epstein files. Again, please let me know your thoughts in the chat. All right, I will read your comments and let's have a conversation in the chat. And if you like what you hear, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing the video, and supporting us with a donation, super chat, something to let us know that you are enjoying what you're hearing.
Now I'm going to say it again, my friends. Release the Epstein files, what they've got. I am totally on board with that. It should be done. That being said, Democrats are lying. Here's the image that got released. Shout out to MJ Truth Ultra on X for this graphic. From GMAX to JEE Vacation, which is apparently Jeffrey Epstein. This is Jeffrey Epstein said, "I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. ... Victim spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there." Heavens me. When this email came out, I was getting texts from the press saying, "Tim, what do you have to say about this?" And I'm like, look, the greater right wants the Epstein files released, and the Trump diehards are saying, we want results. We don't care about this. However, here's the best part. Democrats redacted the name of the victim.
Yep.
When the purpose here was to make it so that you did not know who the victim was and you couldn't look into what they were talking about. Because here's the real email. "I want you to realize that dog that hasn't barked is Trump, ... Virginia spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned." Heavens me. The reason why that's so alarming? Well, Virginia Giuffre had already testified that Donald Trump did nothing wrong. I don't know if I have one pulled up right here. No, I got the...
Yeah, so the Democrats, now there was already an unredacted version of the email. Why did they have to redact her name out of the document and simply label it as victim? They would claim that, oh, they want to protect the victim. The victim is dead, okay? The victim is dead, according to them. The victim they wanted to protect had already cleared President Trump of all wrongdoing, that he didn't do anything wrong. Why are they addicted to lying? Now, if it turns out eventually that President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing, I'll be like, yeah, so he should be held accountable. I'm not in a cult. I'm not in a cult. If he did something wrong and it was found that he is liable, he should be held accountable. It's really that simple. Anyone on the left or the right that was involved in the crimes that Jeffrey Epstein's clients are accused of, they should be held accountable. It's as simple as that. The Bible teaches me that you shouldn't twist justice because you favor one person over another. Don't twist justice because it's a Republican. And then don't overexert justice because it's a Democrat and you don't like them. You see, that's the difference between conservatives and people who are far left. People on the far left twist justice. When a Jerusalem cross is found on Pete Hegseth, he's a Christian nationalist. He's dangerous. Ooh. Do you know what that cross means? It's the Crusades. Ooh. The entirety of the mainstream media sang that song during his confirmation hearings. Then when it got to the point where a Democrat was found to have had a Nazi tattoo, it was 20 years ago, we have to give people the benefit of the doubt. They began to stutter and sputter and try to, finagle their way around the idea that is actually the same thing that they accused Pete Hegseth of doing. Pete Hegseth had a Jerusalem cross. This guy had an actual Nazi tattoo. Of course, they would also include he didn't know what he was doing. Guys, we just need to tell the truth. That's all. We just need to tell the truth. What do you think of my, comparisons? We just need to tell the truth. It's not about whether it's Trump or whether it's Kamala Harris or whether it's Joe Biden or Bill Clinton. It's not about any of that. It is not. We just need to tell the truth. That's all we need to do.
Crisis scenes. We'll get to that in a second. Giuffre had already said, here we go. MJ Truth Ultra says Democrats intentionally redacted Virginia because the name would 100% vindicate him. Rob Schmidt, this shows how sick and twisted Democrats in the mainstream media are. They redacted the victim's name because they knew that releasing it would destroy their narrative. They redacted Virginia Giuffre's name because in her own depositions and memoir, she stated that Donald Trump never did anything wrong and was a perfect gentleman.
Hey guys, big headline this morning about Epstein and Trump and this underage victim that Trump reportedly spent hours with. If anything proves to you just how vile the people...
All right, Elite Podcasts, I want to talk about your comment. You know so much about American politics. What makes you so interested in it? My family has been affected positively and negatively by American politics. Positively, my grandfather was helped by American missionaries many years ago in the late 30s and for most of the 40s and 50s. So that was my family's first contact with with Americans, who were Christians. And foreign policy, which affects religious engagement, affected us positively. Negatively, my mom had to leave the United States because her paperwork wasn't intact. She had lived there for a number of years, didn't get permanent residency in the United States, was diagnosed with early onset dementia, was flown back to Nigeria in 2020, died in March of this year. So, she loved Jimmy Carter. She was in love with Jimmy Carter. She used to, if we had grown up in the United States, I would be a Democrat because she loved Jimmy Carter, loved Bill Clinton. Like, we would have been Democrats. I would have grown up a Democrat because, you know, she was so excited about Democrat presidents. But for many years, I've watched and admired the American political system for years, because when you live under a broken political system like we do in Nigeria, I no longer live in Nigeria, but I looked at the Nigerian political system, the democratic experiment that was going on in Nigeria, and the failure. Oh, sorry. Okay. What's going on with my mic? 1, 2. Is that better? Okay, is that better? Just let me know if this works. Not sure why it's cutting in and out. Let me know if this is better. I'm looking at my indicator. It looks like it's working great. Let me know if it is still good. All right. Because I can't see anything wrong. Just let me know. I can't move forward until I know that everything is fine. But thank you for letting me know that my mic is cutting in and out. All right. So from what I can see, it's fine. So I'm just going to keep talking. And then when I see that it isn't, then I'll take a look at it. Okay, thanks. All right. So could you tell me where? Anyway, I'm just going to roll back a little. Okay, thanks. So my mom turned me on to U.S. presidents. Nigerian politics turned me on to the entire system, because I kept wondering, why does the Nigerian political system suck? How come we're running democracy, but it doesn't look like what I see happening in the United States? And this was many years ago, in the 90s. By the 2000s, early 2000s, I was very interested in what was going on in my country's politics, because they had been promising so much but didn't deliver. I saw a lot of corruption. I saw that people were getting away without any justice done. And I began to pay attention to the American political system. Now, I did that on the periphery. For years, the only international news we heard in my home was CNN. And so during every election cycle, I followed the Bush-Gore election drama when it happened. I followed the Obama elections when they happened, both elections, and I followed the 2016 election cycle. It was the 2016 election cycle that really got me turned on, because I saw an outsider essentially rise through the ranks and then win. And I really got turned on when all hell broke loose after he won. So since 2017 till the pandemic, I kept an eye on what was going on in American politics. Yes, off and on, but not as intensely as I did from 2020. I watched the elections in 2020 happening, and I stayed up for most of the night in Nigeria watching the count. Yeah, 2016 got all of us interested. I stood up all night watching the count, and power in my on my estate went out. I put on my generator, because in Nigeria we have horrible power supply. I had 3 generators. So I put on one of the backup generators, the smaller generators, just to keep watching to watch the count of the elections, because going through the pandemic in 2020, I knew that there was something going on that I didn't like. I wasn't comfortable with the way things were being twisted and all the lies that had been ramped up to 20. Okay, so I kept an eye on it. And then I decided to go to bed. When I went to bed, President Trump was in the lead. By the time I woke up, Joe Biden was giving his acceptance speech. I was like, something went wrong. I was living in Nigeria, but I said something went wrong. There's something wrong about this. I felt it in my bones. And then when President Trump began to talk about it and everyone started talking about it and all the conservatives started saying, look, we need to take a look at this. Something went wrong here. They were mailing in ballots long after the ballots had closed at the polling centers. It just felt wrong. And then that basically was when I got really radicalized to pay attention to American politics. It was the 2020 elections. So I had been following peripherally. 2016 turned me on, but 2020 got me really interested. Like I got turned on to, I would say I was radicalized, you know. I saw the votes at 3 a.m. That's what I went to bed, I woke up, and it was like, what on earth just happened? What just happened, you know? And I saw this video of Joe Biden giving a speech, and he said there was something he was talking about, and he said, "Do it now." And I was like, that sounded like a signal. It wasn't his acceptance speech. He was just giving a speech at the rally, and then he just said, "Do it now." And I was like, there's something about this statement he made. Now, conspiracy theory, not proven, but the fact that speech coincided with when the count began to spike, for me, was a trigger. I was like, okay, there's something wrong here. So the Elite podcast, I saw the spike in votes, and I believe that it was stolen. Okay, I believe it was stolen. And I fall among the group that were called conspiracy theorists. All right, so let's just wrap up this coverage on the hoax, but keep your chat coming. I'm enjoying the conversation with you. All right, so let's just keep it going. Let me know if it's cutting out, because what I did with my audio was I set up a docking system that would cut out the feed of the video playing while I'm talking. But if something is going on with that, you can let me know in the chat, and I'll see if I can work on it very quickly. But let me know your thoughts. Great connecting with you and discussing the 2020 and 2016 elections. You know, there are things that you can't unsee. There are things you can't unsee. All right, you can't unsee media hypocrisy when before President Trump came down the escalator, he was everyone's friend. He was he was friends with the ladies of The View. He was friends with Oprah. He was their guy. He comes down the escalator and he becomes a Nazi. He becomes a misogynist. He becomes a toxic. You can't unsee that once you see that play out in front of your eyes. All right, so let's keep going.
People that we're dealing with are how disgusting the media is and how aligned the Democrat agenda is with the broader mainstream media. This story is everywhere. New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, every cable channel. This is the front page. This is the big top story. And it alleges something absolutely heinous, that Trump spent hours at his house with one of the victims of Epstein.
Yeah, so this is similar to what we saw with all the other 5 hoaxes that we've covered. Once the story was out there, mainstream media just grabbed it. It was like the talking points had been spread to all of the media outlets, and they just pushed it immediately. As soon as the hoaxes were manufactured, they all had shows written, they had articles written, and they all just did a blast to smear President Trump on every single hoax. Every single one. So, like I said, once you see it, you can't unsee it. They've played this game before. We're not going to be fooled a 6th time. We've seen 5 hoaxes, all of them debunked. All right. Are you going to be fooled a 6th time? Are you going to let them fool you another time? Okay, they've done it 5 times before. The same MO, the same modus operandi. They come up with an accusation. Mainstream media flies with it. When it's debunked, everyone keeps quiet like it never happened. And then during another election cycle, they use a hoax that has already been debunked to attack him or any candidate that's aligned with President Trump.
And it just leaves it right there because they just want you to see that headline. Trump spent hours with a victim. Oh, what comes into your head when you think about that headline? That's exactly what they want you to do.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, and this is how disgusting these people are. They redact the name of the alleged victim, and they did that for a reason, because the name of that victim would blow up their whole story. So they redact that part. Republicans were quick to unmask that redaction. The name is Virginia Giuffre, a young lady who, in depositions and also in her own memoir, a book that she wrote, said that Donald Trump never did anything wrong and was a perfect gentleman the entire time. They conceal that, and now your entire X feed and the media are all just out there alleging, oh, this is the smoking gun. See, he's a pedophile. This is how sick and twisted these people are. They are vile creatures.
Indeed. Indeed, they are, my friends, and it is demoralizing.
Yeah, so I'm going to play the second video, and then we will close out the live stream in the chat. I mean, I like to close out the live stream with conversations so we can talk about... I think we've basically covered the entire thing, all right? But I like Benny Johnson. I'm going to look at the chat to see if there's any... So let me know in the chat, all right, your reaction to this video, okay? I'm going to just play Benny Johnson now while I keep an eye on the chat, and we're going to just have a conversation. This is yet another manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. They spent 40 days shutting down the government. They failed at making President Trump and Republicans look bad. They got out of it with nothing. And then once they opened the government, their opening salvo was Epstein documents. Look, President Trump, his name was mentioned. Like I said this afternoon, it's just juvenile at this point. So they are trying to muddy the waters for the midterms. That's what I can see, okay? That's what I know, and I believe you know it too. They are trying to muddy the waters for the midterms. And once they get their way and spread this smear on President Trump, and if we all don't wake up to say, hey, we've seen this movie before. They did this to President Trump, for the Russia hoax. They did it to him with the P tape. They did it to him with the Charlottesville both sides hoax, which we've covered those 3 hoaxes, and we see that it was debunked. They did it with the bleach. President Trump, he says you should inject bleach. What a stupid idiot. They did it with the BBC, with the January 6th speech, where they accused him of inspiring an insurrection. And we're seeing it today with the latest hoax, with the emails and the documents that the Democrats have spread out. They redacted it to remove Virginia's name. So let's play Benny Johnson's account. Let me know your thoughts. Now, if you like my easygoing take on the news, the stories, and you like the fact that, I'm not raising your blood pressure. Of course, when you look at the news and the lies that they tell and you get upset, all right, yeah, you're right to be upset, but there's a way to look at this. When you see the people for who they really are, and you know your duty is to engage in the political process, understand the policies, understand what you need to do, and take action. And you don't just get emotional about all of this insanity, because look, whether you're getting emotional for or against the policies of the right or the left, you need to tone down those emotional outbursts. You need to relax, take a breath, understand one thing. It's a game to them. You're a pawn as far as they're concerned. As long as you are emotional, you will be a pawn. As long as you don't think for yourself, you are a pawn of the machine, left and right. The reason why President Trump was such a threat to them was because he was an outsider, and he still is an outsider. They hate him because he's an outsider. He doesn't play by their rules. According to President Trump, and based on some of the actions that he's been taking, he's on the side of the American people. Why do I like President Trump's policies, even though I'm not an American citizen and I don't live in the United States? I love his policies because I wish my leaders in my country, my home country, would treat us, the citizens, half as good as President Trump treats the American people. You know, the mainstream media will say, well, he released the military on American streets to take care of the criminals? How is that such a scandalous activity? He dared to do something that was helpful to the average American. That's the problem. That's the reason why they hate him so much. So when we understand that as far as they're concerned, we are pawns, as long as we're emotional about this entire thing, they can use us, they can steer us left or right. Both sides, Democrats and Republicans. And that's why, if you heard me correctly, if any Republican is implicated in the Epstein files, they should be held accountable. If any Democrat is found liable in the Epstein files, they should be held accountable. It should not be a Democrat only or a Republican only situation where we're looking for just Democrats or Republicans. Any single person who may have done some of the things that Epstein's clients are accused of doing. Okay, we recently found out that Prince Andrew has been stripped of his royal titles, and I guess he's now Mr. Andrew, I guess. Let me know in the chat if that's true, that he now reverts to a Mr. and not Prince. He's no longer his royal, his majesty. No, is it majesty or his royal highness? Okay, which one do the royals answer, and what is reserved for the monarch? Okay, if you know that, let me know in the chat. So it's important to take note of all of this, learn from it, and to make good choices. So I'm going to play Benny Johnson's piece while you talk. Let me know what you think in the chat. So just before we dive in, let's read this. This is verifiable proof that all Democrats showed with their email release is that Epstein was an intelligence operation targeting President Trump. So he says, let's break it down. So let's see. Democrats just released an email claiming Trump spent time with an Epstein victim and redacted the victim's name to imply wrongdoing. The unredacted version shows it was Virginia Roberts who exposed Epstein's network and stated under oath that Trump never touched her and always treated her with respect. Trump was the one who banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after learning what he was doing. Trump told the FBI about Epstein and helped prosecutors take him down in 2008. Guys, where is the scandal, please? Where is the scandal? What did Democrats actually prove with this email? Epstein and his network were worried because Trump wasn't part of their operation. They didn't expose President Trump, they exposed the truth. Epstein was being used by intelligence to blackmail the powerful, and Trump was the only man they couldn't control. Wow. All right, so let's play this video.
Now I'm going to say it again, my friends.
Oops, sorry about that.
The Democrats released an email that said, yo, here's President Trump spending time with Epstein victim, right? Okay, so let's click through. Please scroll down and click through the Democrats' email. Let's go through and debunk the whole thing. So they released this. They should be sued for this. I mean, I don't know if you can. I don't know how that works. It's hard to sue the federal government.
I thought about that as well. I was wondering, why is it that these people get away with all of this insanity? Why? Can someone tell me in the chat why they get away with all of this insanity? Okay. Why? Because it's weird to me that people can step out, tell lies that could destroy someone's life, his family, his livelihood, everything he owns, and not be held accountable simply because they work for the federal government. It makes no sense to me.
They should be sued for this. Oversight Democrats, let's go to the first page here. Look at this naughty email from Jeffrey Epstein. So here's Jeffrey Epstein emailing Ghislaine Maxwell. I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Oh no. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what that means in just a second. Victim, they black out the name. Victim spent hours at his house. Wow. One of my victims. You know, girl who was abused or whatever. I just assume that she was, yes, abused by Trump. This is what the allegations say here from the Democrats. Klein, click out of this. Click out of this. Click out. Out. Out, my friend. There you go. Now click on this one. There you go. There you go. You gotta keep up. Here we go, rocking and rolling. Sometimes on these things, it's better if I just run with my window. But nonetheless, here we go. There it is. You can see how the Democrats blotted out victim. Wow. Look at that. Trump must have done something super naughty here. Yep. But, you know, what's amazing about this email is that not only is it not new, we have the original without the blotting out. And so you can actually see who the victim is. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is the unredacted version. Thank you, Klein. Virginia. Well, who would that be? Oh, it'd be Virginia Roberts, the lady we just had killed, the lady that we just murdered. By the way, murdering people who have dirt on us is going to be a theme of the show. We'll get to the Clintons in just a second. It is amazing the way that...
Okay, so... let me know your thoughts in the chat or in the comment section about the fact that powerful people, and whenever people say powerful people and they think about Trump, I'm like, well, Trump is wealthy, but Trump isn't one of them. Okay, Trump has always been an outsider. There's an interview that he did back in 1995 where he said that essentially wealthy people don't like him because he's not like them. For most of them, they don't respect the way he makes his money. His family essentially created their wealth out of a lot of hard work. Many of them inherited their wealth. They see people who work for their money as dirty peasants who were jumped up to become wealthy. They don't see them as qualifying to run around their circles. And they're intimidated by people like President Trump. All right. So whenever you realize what's actually going on, all right, and powerful people getting their way by eliminating anyone who they don't like or respect, it gets you thinking. All right. Now, I did put up a poll. I'm going to call the results of the poll. I had 2 polls running, one on the main channel. On the main channel, I have a 50-50 result. 50-50. The poll says, which Trump hoax was the biggest fail of them all? 50% said Russia collusion. The other 50% said J6 editing hoax. All right. I'm going to end that poll. Okay. On the backup channel, we had Russia collusion as the main poll. Okay. Okay. Donald Dye, thank you for the super chat. This is very little. There is very little interaction. The first time, thank you for your news. Thank you so much, Donald Dye. I hope you're a subscriber. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, I'm gonna like this. Thank you so much, Donald. I appreciate you. I've seen you in the chat before. Not in the chat, but in the comment section. I've seen you in the comments section, and I think I've responded to your comments at some point. Let me know if I'm accurate with that. But thank you so much for supporting the live stream with your super chat. I do appreciate it. It keeps the lights on. It is very encouraging that you did that. Yeah, there's little interaction. And one of the things that I want to do with my audience is to encourage people to engage, to interact. It's very important to me that we all learn how to interact, because one of the things that I found out is conservatives, people who are conservative in their thinking and in their approach to politics, tend to not engage much. Online. Okay, and honestly, I want more engagement in the chat. These live streams that I have are designed for engagement. I give the breakdown, I give the news, I give my thoughts, and then I want more engagement. And it's in the engagement that we hold our ideas accountable. If there's something that I said that may not be entirely accurate, that's why I'm doing this. I'm being very vulnerable. Okay. I had an interaction with the Elite podcast on the backup channel, and he was very curious about how I got into U.S. politics without being an American citizen, and what turned me on to U.S. politics. And I just basically told him my origin story. So I'm excited whenever I get to talk with my audience. You know, I don't miss a chance. And currently, I talk to everyone. All right. You don't have to super chat for me to talk to you, but it's pleasant to see a super chat whenever I see one. I'm like, wow, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate it. And then, I love to have those interactions. Okay. Now, if you're watching on the backup channel, which isn't monetized, so you can't give a super chat, but you want to send a donation, you can do so by using the link in the pinned comment. All right. The link in the pinned comment will take you to a donation page, and then you can give a donation through the link in the chat. So thank you so much for that super chat, Donald. Okay, so let's keep going with Benny's breakdown.
The Democrats swing on Trump and end up knocking out their own molars. It is remarkable, the capacity for them to do this. The ability for them to take a big hammer, a sledgehammer, and swing it as hard as they possibly can, hit rubber, and have it bounce right back up into their own ballsack. It's like an Acme cartoon. It's like a Looney Tune. Who's Virginia? Oh, yeah, Virginia Roberts. Virginia Roberts, of course, is a hero. She's somebody who blew the whistle on Jeffrey Epstein. She was abused by Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew has been kicked out of the royal family. They settled with her for hundreds of millions of pounds. I don't know the exact number. It's secret. But they don't pay these kind of things out if nothing happened. There are photos to prove it. And ladies and gentlemen, she got a front row seat in the most horrifying way to the...
So if Prince Andrew was kicked out of the royal family, of course, it means that there was evidence of wrongdoing. And to tell you the truth, everyone knows it. You know it. I know it. These people know who's doing what. They do. When you swim around these circles, you get to figure out who is doing what. And the royal family were very knowledgeable about the scandal that Prince Andrew was involved in. So it wasn't surprising when eventually, when it came out and it couldn't be hidden, they denied it, they tried to deflect, but eventually there was too much evidence and then they had to take action.
Jeffrey Epstein operation. Now, what is that operation? It's been totally revealed that Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. He was working for Israel. Oh, we know that now. We'll get there. Don't you worry. So much to get to. Let's start slowly. So they released this. This is the big news, okay? We're going to go through all the news, but this is the big news that they released. Donald Trump, they had to block out her name, but Donald Trump did a nasty thing with a victim of Epstein. The funny part about it is that, yes, Donald Trump knew that Virginia Roberts was a victim. Donald Trump spoke about it many times. Hey, Alex, do we have the clip of Donald Trump talking through this? Okay. Donald Trump spoke about Virginia Roberts many times. He's not scared of Virginia Roberts. He doesn't look like Bill Clinton does. When you bring up any of his accusers, Donald Trump's like, yeah, that's a sweetheart. She worked in the spa at Mar-a-Lago. Predator Jeffrey Epstein stole her from Mar-a-Lago. He engaged in abuses of young women. I kicked out Jeffrey Epstein for that exact reason. Virginia Roberts, in her own hand, please, deposition, in her own hand, says Donald Trump was nothing more than an absolute and total gentleman to me. Donald Trump is somebody who never touched me, never abused me, never flirted with me, she even says, in sworn deposition to the court. Virginia Roberts is someone who has said this not only in court documents, but also in media. And
because Virginia Roberts was so emphatic about her observations and about her testimony of President Trump's conduct, they blanked out her name. I mean, can you beat that hypocrisy? All right. The Bible says that we should not bear false witness against our neighbor. Don't bear false witness against your neighbor. And what Democrats have done repeatedly to President Trump and to anyone they disagree with is to bear false witness. If they call you a Nazi, that is bearing false witness. If you are not a Nazi, but they're labeling you one, that is called bearing false witness. They call you Nazi not because they hate you. They call you a Nazi so they can hurt you. It can give them permission to hurt you. And that's what they did to Charlie Kirk. That's what they did to Charlie Kirk. Thank you for the follow. If you're watching and you enjoy this content, thank you for watching. But please consider subscribing, liking, sharing. And if you can, please consider donating to the channel using the super chat or by using the link in the chat. All right. If you're interested in following our content closer, you can also join the membership. All right. So let's keep listening.
In her book and in depositions. And she would have done it before Congress, but she was murdered. Wow, how can you possibly say that? We heard that she committed suicide. Well, listen, guys, I'm just going off of the words of her father, okay? I don't know Virginia Roberts, never met her, don't know her. But let me tell you a little story about Virginia Roberts. Get that suicide tweet for me and get it right now. Virginia Roberts told us she wasn't suicidal. So that's the first thing. Okay, speaking of, when you're talking about ornaments that don't hang themselves, when people tell you straight up, I'm not suicidal, you should tend to believe them. That's a bit of a cry for help. Virginia Roberts posted this online when she was coming out in a deposition against Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
She says, if something bad happens to me, know this, I'm not suicidal. And what happens next? Well, just about a year and a half after she posts this tweet, Virginia Roberts gets hit by a bus. How did that happen? Well, I don't know. Nobody's ever explained it to us.
Yeah.
Why did she get hit by a bus? Was she in was she traveling in downtown Manhattan or Chicago? Nope. She was in the middle of the Australian outback, literally on a farm in the middle of a rural road, one of the most remote places on Earth.
Are you joking?
Well, what happened after she got hit by a bus? Was someone arrested? Did they ask the driver, who are you? What are you doing out here? Running people over?
Didn't.
Nope. Nobody was ever charged. Nobody ever faced any punishment. Well, that's completely strange. That doesn't make any sense. Don't make any sense. Well, Virginia Roberts, did she die? No, she was actually in hospital, and she recorded a video that says she's going to die.
What?
Well, that's strange. After she said she's not suicidal? Yep. She said she had days to live from her hospital bed after getting blasted.
You see, these stories are just crazy. All right, these stories are crazy. Now, if you're watching on the YouTube side, both channels, I put up a fresh poll. Let me know which platform or who pushes these hoaxes harder. We're hearing all of this, and like, what on earth is going on? Like, this should be investigated. What do you think about what you just heard? Like, whenever you're wondering what's going on in the world, it's like it's grounds for you to double down and dig deeper and ask more questions. You need to ask more questions.
Blasted by a bus in the middle of the Australian outback. That's all of these things, 100% empirically true. This is the story. And then lo and behold, just days after recording that video, found dead. Virginia Roberts.
Found dead.
The official story, even though we haven't seen any autopsy, this is going to be a recurring theme, okay? There's a Vince Foster, it's the same thing. It's all the same thing. Even though we haven't seen any autopsy, even though we didn't see any evidence, even though her family members and her lawyer say that the entire situation is suspicious and they don't believe it. Her own father says this. Listen, people have troubled kids. Sometimes it's important to just kind of know your kids and to be there for them. And obviously that's your role as a parent. But when her own father, hey, Alex, you got that clip? When her own father goes on Piers Morgan and says, no, I don't believe that she committed suicide, then you got a real problem here. Now, why, we talked about how this suicide of Virginia Roberts happened, and she went by Virginia Roberts and Virginia Giuffre. She's used both. So I'm just going to go with Roberts because it's just easier to say. But Virginia Giuffre is also a name she's used. When this happened, we said that's incredibly convenient. This is happening right now because she was a superstar. Virginia Roberts is out there talking to all of the press, all of the media, telling them everything about Bill Clinton, telling them everything about the truth of Jeffrey Epstein and his operation. I'm not trying to discount other women that Jeffrey Epstein abused, and there were other women. But I'm saying that Virginia Roberts has all the receipts to back everything up.
All right, so I'm looking at the poll. Okay, the latest poll is up, and I'm seeing some activity on the main channel. Okay, so make your voice heard. On the main channel, the poll is running. On the backup channel, the poll is running. Let me know which of these who pushes hoaxes harder? Mainstream media, Democrat politicians, both equally, neither, or not sure? Let me know in the poll. We're entering into a new level of hoaxing. We are. we're entering into a new level of hoaxing.
The Epstein files,
because
what they've got,
because when the opening salvo of the Democrat Party, after leaving a government shutdown, is to release a new hoax. Remember, we are 5 for 5 in debunking hoaxes so far. We're now on to hoax number 6. And hoax number 6 is what we're looking at now. The Democrats are making it look like this is such a scandal. It's crazy. Such a scandal. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Oh, and they're also excited. Oh, we got him. And mainstream media is backing up their stories and whipping up the sentiment. It just reminds us of everything that we've seen before. Here's Bill O'Reilly with Stephen A. Smith and Andrew Cuomo. Okay, so let's listen to this breakdown because, to be honest, okay, well, hang on. Before we listen to them,
what Donald Trump is doing.
We can't have a live stream where hoaxes are pushed without listening to TDSBC. So let's listen to TDSBC with Jen Psaki. All right, so let's read the caption first. Okay, let's read the caption. The caption says, Jen Psaki gets too excited about the Epstein email hoax. Says, other predators out there in addition to Trump, then hurriedly walks it back. Visions of a lawsuit immediately dance in her head. Okay, so let us listen.
In supporting what Donald Trump is doing.
You're talking about the other predators out there, in addition to Trump. I mean, I'm not saying he is. We don't know the details about that. I just mean in addition to what we've learned about Epstein and others, there's other predators out there.
There are, and we have to remember that Alex Acosta, when he...
So essentially, she made a statement which basically she had already concluded in her head that Trump is a predator, right? And they had to immediately walk it back. But here's a trick. What they do is they put these things out there and then they pretend to pull it back so that it can be on record that, hey, no, I corrected myself. I didn't really say I corrected myself. But their audience are already poisoned by that picture. Oh, he's a predator. Oh, he's guilty. That's what they do. So that's TDSBC. All right, so let's listen to Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith, and Andrew Cuomo.
What we see today.
This is Chris, I think. This is Chris, not Andrew. Andrew is the politician who failed last week. Okay.
What we see today is a bunch of innuendo. It's hearsay. There isn't any direct backup for any allegation because there aren't any allegations other than Trump may have been in a house where there are some girls. Right. Okay. So you have the lady in question, and I feel very bad for Miss Giuffre's family. He committed suicide. What a horrible thing. The whole thing is just awful. And that's right on Epstein. You have her saying under oath, Trump didn't do anything, and you have Maxwell. But here's the most important person you have, not under oath. Dershowitz. Dershowitz was Epstein's lawyer, and lawyer-client confidentiality ends with death. Dershowitz went on television today, said, I have all of the Epstein stuff, and there isn't anything. And I asked Epstein directly, while I was representing him, whether Donald Trump was involved in any kind of untoward activity. And Epstein said no. So now you have the three principal players in this case, all saying the same thing.
Now, there's people have been waiting for Dershowitz to make a public statement. And I think at some point, people were teasing that he had this smoking gun and suspected that it was going to paint Trump in a negative light. But now he's come out to say Epstein actually said Trump wasn't implicated because attorney-client privilege ends when your client dies. And so now he could say things that he wasn't allowed to say while Epstein was alive. Like, there's so much evidence out there that exonerates President Trump. But you know what? No matter what you hear, just like we saw with the previous 5 hoaxes that we've already debunked, or not we did, but were already debunked. In spite of the fact that these hoaxes have been debunked, the mainstream media, the politicians on the Democrat side and some Republicans, and left-wing influencers continue to push these hoaxes. I've spoken to people privately and they believe these hoaxes. And I'm like, that's wrong. Here's the evidence. And you have a certain kind of reaction like, how dare you take away my hoax? You know, it's like, how dare you take away my hoax? I need my hoax. I need to hate Trump more. I mean, that's essentially, you see that need that people have to hate President Trump. Is President Trump perfect? No. He's not Jesus Christ. He's not. Does he have wings sprouting out of his shoulders? No. Those are just his shoulder blades. If you can see them, he's a regular guy with flaws like you and me. So I would not be surprised if more faults in his personal life, apart from the situation with Stormy Daniels, comes out. I'm like, oh, he was a normal person with faults. But when a group of people get together and say, we're going to destroy this person because we want everyone to hate him. We had Nancy Pelosi come out a few days ago saying that Trump is the most repulsive person in the world. I think that's the word she used. And I'm like, how can you say such a thing about another human being? But that is how the rest of the Democrat Party leadership wants you to feel about President Trump. That is how the mainstream media who run cover for the Democrat Party, want you to feel about President Trump. Let's keep listening.
Yet the press is so irresponsible, so corrupt, so hateful, they will not even mention that. It's death by innuendo. That is what they are aiming for.
All right. We're going to wake up someday and we're going to find out that this was yet another hoax. I believe we are. If the opposite happens, I hope to be the first to stand up to say, I was wrong. But as long as we have people lying in order to destroy another person, I believe people like us, those of you listening, because if you're listening, you're interested in the truth. And I'm interested in the truth. I don't like games because let me rephrase that. I don't like sports. Some of you may not like that. But I don't like sports because there's this thing about wanting to win at all costs that I don't like. I don't. I used to play sports as a boy, and I would compete with people who would cheat. They would injure you in order to get ahead. And for them, it's gamesmanship. I don't like it. We need to learn how to play on an even playing field. That's what I believe in. Well, call me naive, but that's what I believe in. And when I see people bearing false witness against someone else to destroy them and their family, like the media has done against President Trump and his family repeatedly, and they try to justify it by saying he's a repulsive person, he deserves it, I think it's wrong. If President Trump has actually committed any crimes, then yeah, he should be held accountable. However, if he hasn't, why are you out there manufacturing lies? It's heartbreaking to watch. It's aggravating to watch. I don't like it. And I think we should all strive to be truth tellers. All right? Even if you hate the man, okay? Even if you hate the man. I've done a coverage on Joe Biden that was during the election cycle. And there were rumors that were being spread about him. And I said, look, there's no fact to these rumors, and I don't think it should be spread. Okay? There are people out there who will believe, go ahead and spread it because it gives your team the advantage. If it takes lying for my team to win, I don't want that win. Oh, then you're naive. Yeah. Then I am. Then I am. Please let me know your thoughts in the chat. Okay? Let me know your thoughts in the chat. All right. We've gone through all the hoaxes. We've gone through all the hoaxes. I'm going to give you a few minutes. I've had some interesting conversations with several of you in the chat. All right. Once again, thank you, Donald Dye, for the super chat. Thank you. If you are wondering how to give a super chat, the button is right there in the chat window. But you don't need to give a super chat for me to respond to your comment. So you can go ahead and put a comment in the chat. But if you feel like you want to donate to the channel, then please go ahead and send a donation using the super chat, or by using a link in the chat, a pinned link in the chat. Okay, if you're watching from YouTube, there's a pinned comment in the chat. You can use the link there to send us a donation. It helps us keep the lights on. All right, so moving forward, just a personal update. If you're up for a personal update, if you like my content and you've enjoyed the news so far, all right, we're done with the news, but please don't go. Just a personal update on the channel. All right, I've been talking to my wife. We've been doing live streams at noon Eastern every day for the last 3 weeks to a month. We're moving forward into having 2 live streams every day. All right, same time at noon Eastern, and then at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be streaming twice every day. I feel like a bunch of you miss out on the afternoon live streams because you work or you're busy during the day. And I want to hang out with you in the evenings. I've spoken with my wife and I told her, look, I feel like this. I've been thinking about this for over a week. I've hinted at it during the regular live streams for the last couple of days. And I've said, I'm thinking about this. Let me know what you think in the chat. I want to know how you feel about us, about having to do this. Originally, I thought about moving the entire program to the evening, but I felt that I have an afternoon crowd and I have an evening crowd. And so I decided to keep them separate, have the afternoon crowd enjoy the 12 noon Eastern slot, and then have the 9 p.m. Eastern slot. So we're including this. I am aware it's going to be a lot of hard work. And it's going to this is going to be like my 9 to 5. Essentially, it's going to be my 9 to midnight, since I'm going to be live streaming at night as well, like I'm doing right now. I would love for you to consider being a part of the channel. It shows your support when you join to watch. You don't have to give a super chat. You don't have to make any donation. You can just chat among yourselves. Be here. Your viewership, supports what I do and lets me know that I'm doing something right. And then when you send in your chats and you engage, it also helps out a whole lot. The engagement helps the channel. It helps other people who are watching. It encourages everyone to believe, it lets everyone else know that they are not alone. They are not alone. We live stream on my 2 YouTube channels. I have a main channel and I have a backup channel. And then I also stream on Rumble, on Kick, and on Twitch. And so I stream on 5 locations simultaneously. And whenever a chat comes in from any of those locations, it shows up on the screen. You see the chat, and then I read the chat. I try my best to catch the chat, read it, and respond. And then, I would like to connect with you and continue to do this with you. So that's a personal note and an update on the channel. If you have anything to ask, a chat, something to say, I'm going to give it about 5 minutes for you guys to kind of gather your thoughts and send in your thoughts. What do you think? Some of you, like there's a delay to the live stream. So it takes a couple of minutes or a few seconds before you hear what I just said. So I'm going to just pause a little. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be saying a few other things, but I hope you will consider posting something in the chat, something encouraging or a question or your observations or something connected to the stories that we've covered. Now, so President Trump has been vindicated concerning 5 hoaxes that were pushed against him by the media and the Democrat Party leadership. Which of these 2, according to the poll that we just released, which of these 2 who pushes the hoaxes harder? I'm ending the poll on the main channel, and it is both equally. The sentiment is that both mainstream media and Democrat politicians push hoaxes harder. Okay? It seems like Democrat politicians create the hoax, and then mainstream media pushes the hoax. I guess that's what tends to happen. Okay, if you want to jump into the poll before I end it, you better click on the poll because I'm about to end it. I want to see if anybody has anything else to include. But it seems like everyone is unanimously saying that both of them push these hoaxes equally. All right, now, I have a selfish ask. Okay, everything I've been asking has been selfish, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Can you tell me what part of this live stream did it for you? What about the live stream did it for you? I'm going to just be silent for a while or talk a little. Let me know what about the live stream. If you stayed for a bit, what is it about today's live stream that worked for you? I want to learn from it, and I want to try hard to kind of keep doing it so that you keep coming back. That's really what I want to do. Okay, so let me know quickly in the chat. All right, let me know in the chat. Now, we have a winner, both equally pushed. Oh, someone jumped in. Democrat politicians. someone snuck a vote in just as I was about to hit end the poll. All right, I wonder who that is. Okay, so you were so basically took away. So it's 75% says both equally, and then 25% says Democrat politicians. I'm ending the poll. This is fun. All right, so just let me know. Let me know what you think about today's live stream. I want to know what did it for you. I'm really curious because we're going to be doing this every day. And as much as possible, I want to serve you with us. Like, you don't know how special it is for me to be here and have you hang out and just listen. It's really special. It is. It is. And to be honest, Donald, if you're still here, Donald is the first person to give a super chat during the live stream. All right. I've had people join the membership I've had one person join the membership from the live stream. All right. So he's the first. Then now Donald is the first to give a super chat during the live stream. All right. So I really want to say thank you to Donald. I do appreciate the support. And for everyone who's watching, thank you for hanging out with me tonight to listen to the news, to watch the news. I think we're going to have a great time. Tomorrow, I'm going to be preparing another show tomorrow. I'm going to be putting out the very best I can to make this worth your while. And I hope that you will consider coming back again and again. I want to say thank you for being a part of this. I'm looking in the chat. It seems like everyone is basically turning down. There's no further engagement. And I don't want to bore you with nothing important to say. But I've given you all the updates. I'll be back again tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, same time tomorrow. Thank you so much, all of you, for everything that you've done, just hanging out and being a sport. Please subscribe if you haven't. Like the video, share the video, support it any other way that I've mentioned, by donating, by joining the membership. Just help out, okay? Thank you so much for everything that you've done. And until tomorrow, God bless you.